Today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by Jennifer C. at HomeLifeCultureLink.com, Nino Simeka at MortgageGodfather.ca, and Jewelry Forever at JewelryForever.ca. Enjoy the show.
Broadcasting live from Glenmore Record Studios in Toronto, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, your Sunday morning talk show with interesting guests, live musical performances, and the most fun you can fit in your coffee cup. Hosted by Scott Dion Brown and Regine Alaina, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
What a beautiful body. I started that higher than I usually do, and then I realized I was in trouble as soon as I started singing it. But good morning. Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 113. Thank you, Regine. Of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown. And I'm your host, the one, the only, Scott Dion Brown. Good morning. What's your name? Do you have stupid? Oh, hello. Good morning, Scooter. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I've got a fresh cup of espresso, and I am ready to kick things off here. To have an incredible Sunday morning. And of course, I can't do that without the greatest co-host in all the galaxy, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only,
Regine Alaina. Happy Sunday, everyone. Scott, okay, I was trying to get your attention before we went live, but you took your headphones off and you remind me of a Korean pop star, just like how your hair flows.
Ah. That's good. That's good, right?
I don't know, but I don't know Korean pop stars. I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
you're just saying like in general.
Yeah, like because how your hair will like float a little bit when you took your headphones off. I was like, he looks like a K-pop star.
I could be in BTS.
Exactly.
BTS.
There you go. If they ever need a new member.
Excellent. How was your week, Regine?
It was good. I got a new phone, so, my phone's not going to die in the middle of an episode, hopefully, anymore, knock on wood.
That's good. Yeah, the camera does look good. The camera looks really good.
It's so different going from... So I had an iPhone 8, but I think I used up all the memory on it and dropped it a few times. And so now I upgraded to the iPhone 12, and just looking at the difference between the cameras, less.
Well, it's a good upgrade. It's a good upgrade overall. Something happened with my Killer Underground Space. Oh, your Killer Underground Space. Oh, okay. Well, hello. I like your new account.
Welcome back.
Yeah. His name is Do You Have Stupid. It's hard for me to read. It's one of those things where they write the sentence out, so it's like confusing.
That's why
read.
he wrote it that way, to go with his name. Can you subscribe to my channel?
Yeah. Do You Have Stupid. Sub to Regine's channel. You just hit a little milestone.
Yeah, I hit 80 subs finally. It only took a few months, but that's okay.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Hey, Rosanna Shaw, good morning. Welcome to the show. You're just in time. We're about to introduce our guest. I think we should meet our guest, Regine.
Yes, we should.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is a very talented singer-songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar player, as well as piano and flute, I'm to understand. And she's also a very talented actress of stage and screen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Sit Down, Haley Midgette. Hi.
Hey, Scott. Hey, Regine. Thanks.
Hi, welcome to the Sit Down.
Thank you. Thanks for the warm intro.
So you play the flute, the piano, and guitar?
I do. Flute, it was more so a high school endeavor, flute, but I still can pick it up and play it there's not an active demand for a lot of flute performances, but maybe I can bring that back. I don't know.
That'd be pretty cool.
Could be. Yeah, I play. I think, like, I technically play the trumpet, but it's the same situation. I learned trumpet in like grade 7.
Yeah,
I did.
I did.
Music program.
I did flute in grade 7. That's why I was like, oh, flute. I don't remember it, but I remember playing it.
Yeah, I think my school started in grade 4. We started young for some reason. So it sticks with you at that age. It's like ingrained in your brain, you know?
Yeah.
That's fair. I only played for a year, so that's probably why.
Do you own a flute?
I don't own a flute. No.
Well, I just remember when I graduated elementary school, I remember I had like this, for like a long time after that, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I really want to get a trumpet. Definitely got to buy a trumpet. I'm going to buy a trumpet. And I never bought a trumpet. So
Well, then you realize how much a trumpet is, and you're like, do I need to buy a trumpet?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Can I rent a trumpet
I remember there would be
on the occasion?
Yeah. There's the odd time where I remember I'd be like in a pawn shop or something, and then I'll always remember, because they'll always have they've always got musical instruments behind the counter. And
okay, yeah.
every single time I see a trumpet, and I'm like, hey, oh yeah, I've been meaning to buy a trumpet. And actually,
Do you remember how to play?
Actually, you know what? I had a dream recently that somebody put a trumpet in my hand, and in the dream, I was able to play it.
That's all the evidence we need, Scott. Yeah, if you're hired
Exactly.
next time, I need a
Your
trumpet
dream.
player.
Yeah.
But it's funny because...
Actually, you know what? Yeah, go, Regine.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I can remember the fingering, so it's just these three fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Be like,
You don't need a trumpet. You can just do it.
That's true.
No,
I think that is right.
When I was in, I think, high school, I remember I wanted to get back into the flute, and I asked my parents to get me one. That year, my brother, no lie, got a keyboard. The other one got a guitar, and I got a hair straightener. I'm like, Mom!
It's not
so
a flute.
Close. The same
So
ball shape, but come on.
So there you go.
That's
So
so
all
fun.
three of us don't have our instruments of old.
No,
But
No.
not anymore.
someday. Oh, Rosanna says, OMG. She says you look like Anne Hathaway, Haley Midgette.
Oh, that's funny. Thank you. I'll accept that. Yeah.
Have you been told that
I can see
before?
that, I guess. Have you heard that before?
I have been told that before, yeah. But I like hearing it. I think Anne Hathaway's a cutie.
She's beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah.
Princess
I like Anne
Diaries, go for
Hathaway.
it.
Yeah. Great film, classic.
And she was in the Les Mis movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
She
I've seen that one.
was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although,
I
to
saw
be
Les Mis.
honest-
I think we saw that on Christmas Day. My family went to see it.
Oh, really?
'cause-
Did you like it?
Yeah. I liked parts. I liked parts of it. I think overall, having been familiar with like the stage production, I don't know. It's just different, right? I think anytime you go from like musical theater actors on stage and then you switch to the film version,
Yep.
I don't know. I do think it's like nice when they keep a lot of musical theater actors, I will say. Like it changes the vibe a little bit. So I did enjoy it, but yeah. But I think after seeing
Well, Les Mis is my favorite music,al
Okay,
Oh, we know.
yeah.
Oh, wait. Actually, we've actually discussed this before. Les Mis might be my second favorite musical.
Mm-hmm.
And Phantom of the Opera is my first.
Exactly.
But it kind of
We
goes both
definitely
ways.
know.
But they're both up there. They're like number 1 and 2. Right. The movie, I liked Anne Hathaway in it.
That was a
But I
really
didn't
intimate
mind-
performance, Sam.
Yeah. And I didn't mind Jean Valjean. But as a whole movie, the music sounds so bad in a lot of it.
Mm.
It's And no, like what you said, it's like it's hard when you're used to like I know what Javert's voice sounds like. I know what Javert's voice is supposed to sound like. I know what even Jump. I know like in my mind they have voices that there's even a tonal quality that like the versions like I've listened to the recording so many times over the years. And the movie, if you listen to the movie without the imagery, it's like the worst version of the musical that exists, right? Like if you just hear the audio, you can't just put that in and listen to it. So,
anyway. Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That's the only version I've seen, but okay, thanks.
No, yeah, and in fact, I remember I was hanging out with some of my friends. This is pre-pandemic when we could hang out with people, and we got to talking about this musical, and I went on this huge rant about like how much like I think I was even more harsh. I think I said like I hated the movie, which hate is a strong word, but I'm not a fan of it. Yeah. And I went on this huge rant, and then my other friend like, thank you for the follow. I can't read that. Thank you for the follow on DLive. Welcome to the channel. Hello, watching on DLive. And I went on this huge rant about how much I hated the musical. And then like immediately after I realized like he started, but he was very timid but he loved it. Like it was like his favorite movie. And I had just like trashed it super hard. And then I realized he had never seen the musical. So this was his only experience of Les Mis. And I think that will have a big impact because like if you're coming at it from like I even got annoyed like because there are some things in the movie that are different, like even just like a few words here and there are different, and I found every time that one of the lyrics changed it bugged me, you know, and but that's not like they can change it if they want, but it's just like I think because I'm so used to this is how the musical is, and in my mind this is how it's supposed to sound, so anything that wasn't that was it felt wrong to me. But then somebody who's just seen the movie, they're just experiencing it as maybe more purely than I am. So.
Well, yeah, they're looking at it and they're like, oh, I thought, the soundtrack was great. It was a beautiful story. And then that's it, right? I've had the opposite happen too. Like Mary Poppins, which, was a movie that then became a Broadway production. I remember going to see that in high school on like a trip with like my high school band. And I love Mary Poppins. I love that movie. And I remember seeing the musical, and I was just kind of like, ugh, no, absolutely not.
No.
And it was like the little changes that got to me. Like they inserted, because they had to make it a bit longer for stage, right? So they inserted some musical numbers. One of them being Practically Perfect, which was this number where the toys came to life, I think. This is my memories are kind of, yeah, it was I don't know, I was just kind of like I'm not a fan of this, like it just felt a bit extra. And then I just remember like Mrs. Banks didn't have the same presence, and she's one of my favorite characters in that. So it was just kind of disappointing. But yeah, you have the expectations. It's kind of like you have nostalgia for the show, and then it's like womp womp, and you're like, okay. But aside, I mean, if I hadn't had the movie version, I probably would have gone in and been like, oh, well done, that was great, It depends.
Like me.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like Regine.
That makes sense. That's like when I saw, in fact, I also really don't like Lion King the musical, and I know everybody loves that musical, but I think I had the same experience when I saw it. I really like the movie, like Lion King movie, but I remember the musical. There's the scene with like when they recreate the stampede, and I remember like it just looked like you're just trying to recreate the movie, but you're not doing it because the movie, is the movie. And like I still remember the kid. Like there's a scene where the kid, he's supposed to be like Simba's supposed to be running from the buffalo.
Yeah.
Antelope? No,
yeah.
not antelope.
One of the most
buffalo?
traumatic scenes for most children.
Yeah.
I think.
Running down.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
But the way they did it is he's standing like sort of downstage center, just running on the spot. Like he's supposed to be running from it, and like they had all the, and then all the buffalo were like these big masks, and they were like dancing behind him to kind of simulate that they were chasing him. But I still remember like there's a moment I looked at the kid's face and he kind of looked bored. Like I don't know if it's something like he'd performed like 800 shows at that point, but I just remember seeing that, and it totally as a kid took me out of it, and I felt that way about the whole. it just felt to me like they were. It was just not. If you want to see The Lion King, you watch the movie. This isn't it for me. So
Maybe try watching it again as an adult.
well, but the problem is like live theater's so like expensive that I'm very, very selective with which ones I go to see. And so like,
it's hard to be like, oh, I'll
for
give it
me.
another shot. You're like, for $120.
That's fair.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Like for
Yeah.
me, oh yeah, go.
No, I was gonna say I never saw Lion King, which is funny because it was all the rage like X amount of years ago. But but I heard that's part of it, right? It's mainly like kind of like a spectacle, right? But just with the dance and the costumes and that sort of thing. But it's interesting to hear your take because I can see how that would happen.
Well, the thing is, I almost wonder like if it just came out as a musical, would people like it? Would they get it? Because the problem I've always had with it is that it's almost reliant that you've seen the movie, so you understand what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's like,
The
I
kids
get it. That's
actually
like
running.
that because that's in the movie. Yeah. Whereas, so I don't know. Maybe I should see it again. Maybe one day. Maybe I'll be like, hey, it's not bad. But it's just it's ruined it for me.
Maybe Simba was changed over the years.
Yeah, maybe they cast
Maybe
a new
Simba's
Simba.
actually running.
The kid's probably an adult now, so probably.
The kid's probably like Mufasa.
Yeah, he plays Mufasa. Exactly.
Comes around.
Yeah.
So Haley, how has pandemic life been for you this past year?
Yeah, it's been honestly not too bad. I'm bubbled up with my family, so it's been kind of nice. I spent a lot more time with like my parents and my sister and my brother, which has been nice. And then I've just been going on a lot of walks with friends otherwise, so it's honestly not been too bad. And it's been a good I don't know if you found the same thing, Scott, because you do a lot of kind of like solo creative work as well, but it's been a real good excuse just to kind of like stay inside and kind of get better at doing some stuff that I put off doing. Like I've just been more I've been spending more time in like Logic, doing like kind of like music arrangement and that sort of stuff. Which for me, like I would often like put off doing that stuff because of like social engagements. I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, my friends are doing this, I'm gonna go and do that. So it just kind of like forced me to like, I don't know, really like value my alone time, I think, which has been kind of nice. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've definitely found it's been good for that. I mean, although the only thing that does annoy me about, and I've talked about this on the show a lot as well, is like initially I thought, wow, like I do have all this extra time because I don't have all these extra engagements to go to. Hey, somebody else just followed on DLive. I shouldn't make that so small. I couldn't read what that said. But welcome to the channel. Hi, we're here interviewing Haley Midgette, actress, singer, songwriter. But yeah, so I had this idea in my mind that like
Silent Star
I'm gonna be so
is
much.
gone. Sorry.
What happened? Oh, that was the name.
I tried reading it. Yeah, Silent Star something.
Silent Star something on DLive. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, so I thought I was going to be so much more productive, but then I found what I've learned about myself, and that's one thing I guess this pandemic's, but we are learning things about ourselves. But I found that like I almost work better when I have lots of things to do and when there are deadlines that I have to meet them by. And when the pandemic kind of took all of those things away, it's like, oh, well, we're not doing that anymore, so don't worry about when it's ready. Or, oh, that can be, oh, I don't have to finish it by this time because we don't know when we're ever going to go outside again. Because that happened, I was like, I found it became so much easier for me to push things back. So it took me a long time to find motivation to move, which I don't know. It's been something I've realized I don't like about myself, and I'm trying to work on it. But
how's your movie going, Scott?
Well, that's the thing. In fact, for people who don't know, Haley is actually the leading actress in my short film, Storage Room B.
Oh, this is the one you're working on. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yes.
How long has it
we
been
filmed
since you guys filmed?
Well, let's think. When did we film it? We filmed it in October of... Is it 2018?
That sounds right to me. That sounds right.
So,
Scott, it's 2021, right?
I know. So we filmed it. And so here's what happened, right? So obviously, like, there was a large period of editing it where it was coming along, but I was struggling with parts, and it's kind of been a challenge to edit. But my real goal was, like, at the end of last year, was like, okay, it will be ready for festival season 2020. Then the pandemic happened, and, like, yeah, there are still festivals, but they're like online festivals, and I didn't really want to do online festivals. I want to be able to go in person and, like, be in a room with people where it's screened. So that kind of, like,
I get that, yeah.
Push it back. However, I have been working on it every day recently, and I think it's going to be done by the end of this month. So that's good.
Ooh, okay, that's exciting.
We're holding you accountable. You have now announced it to YouTube and DLive and all these places. So
that's right.
Our first February podcast, I am going to ask you if you finished it. I'm going to make a note of it right now. Yeah. Good luck.
Well, that's the weird thing, because like obviously I met Haley through that film. Like, we worked together, like, you know, she was in that movie. But, like, yeah, like, you haven't seen anything of it or seen it, and, you know.
No, I have not.
Last time we spoke. Yeah, I think last time we spoke, you kind of, like, were like, oh, I almost kind of forgot about that one. I forgot about that. It's like,
Did I? No.
Whoops.
Well, but
like, because you never know with indie films, right? Because sometimes, like, I've definitely been in stuff where it's just kind of, like, vanished into the ether, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no,
that was fun, but yeah, it doesn't. I mean, not all the time, but, like, there can just be kind of delays, and you just never know, right? But I'm glad to hear it. I had a feeling with you, Scott, it would just be a matter of time, though. I knew eventually we'd see something.
Yeah, just took time.
A matter of time.
Yeah. Well, you know what the struggle with it has been, though, is that it's I mean, I've talked a little bit about what the concept of the movie is, but, like, if you remember, Haley, so it's the camera never moves. The whole movie is one camera angle the whole time, and so time passes basically just by cuts. But the thing that I found is, like, we shot a lot of stuff that was I just had you guys improvise, right? Like, because we wanted to, like, kind of simulate that passing of time. And so what I found was, when I was editing, so the first thing I did was I put everything in sequence. So I had, like, 2 hours worth of footage. And I'm like, so the biggest struggle I found was figuring out what needs to stay in and what doesn't. And I've been struggling with even, like, how long should this movie be? Because, like, I don't think this should be an hour-long movie. I don't know if people can sustain an hour. Yeah. So, but then there's this struggle of, like, oh, well, I kind of like this moment. Oh, I kind of like this moment. So, so in a lot of ways, like, I've had an hour-long cut of this movie for a long time, right? But now it's been just slowly shaving off and kind of okay, this scene's nice, but do I really need it? Because I think it'd be better around, like, the 15-minute run time, maybe. You know?
Right. So, like a short, yeah.
So you're going to go from an hour to 15 minutes?
Well, initially 2 hours, but yeah.
Whoa. No wonder it's taken so long.
Yeah, that must be really challenging. Like, I've never done any film editing short of, like, now during the pandemic, like, editing down a lot of self-tape auditions. But it's really challenging, and that can be, like, I was talking to another actor friend who was just kind of like, I've gone to the point where it's just like, with self-tape auditions, I let myself do 3 takes and then that's it, because otherwise you're just, like, doing 10 takes because you're like, well, that wasn't quite right. I know I could do that one moment better. And then, like, you can spend, like, an hour and a half picking between, like, 10 to 15 takes, and it's just like, oh my god, where did my day go? So yeah, I can't imagine, like, starting off with that much footage and having to kind of whittle it down. It'd be challenging.
Yeah, it was because you know what it is, it's that it's not like a regular script in that, okay, this scene has to happen and then this scene has to happen to kind of move along the story. A lot of it is just the shots, especially the improvised stuff, where we were just trying to simulate slowly, you know, time going by. So I'm like, a lot of it is just, do I like it or not? And anyway, what I will say is this, like, you guys, and, you know, Blake Canning was the other actor in the film, and you guys were just both really watchable. So
thanks.
It was, but it made it a struggle in that I didn't want to, like, oh, that's such a nice moment. anyway, it's gone. No one's ever going to see
Yeah.
it.
Well, no, and it's hard when it's a nice moment that just doesn't fit in overall, right? Because you love that one moment, but then it doesn't really serve the totality of the story, right? Yeah. No, I get that for sure.
So what I've been finding myself basically doing is just I'll render out the place. So like now it's about 24 minutes is what I'm sitting at right now. So what I do is I'd render it out, and then I'll just let it sit, and then I'll watch it. And then I'm kind of just trying to see my own attention, like, okay, wait, I see. It's kind of lulling here, and then I'm going back in and chopping away and just sort of like. So. It's coming.
You guys heard it.
Do you?
January 31st. It's going to be done. That's a Sunday. I checked.
Oh gosh.
Good luck, Scott.
Do you ever,
What were you gonna ask?
Scott? I was going to ask, do you ever have other people review the footage, or are you usually kind of like the sole editor or the sole set of eyes in that process?
I'm the only one for editing, but I will say getting other people to watch it is a huge help. I mean, I don't like this is only my second film, really. Like I've made a lot of YouTube stuff and I made music videos for people, but this is like the only time, my second actual film. But like when I did my first film, which was Kessler Syndrome, the original runtime of that was like 23 minutes or something. And then I remember when it was first finished, I did a little screening for like my friends and family members at my parents' place. And from that screening alone, I ended up chopping out an extra 4 minutes because I was able to just not even ask them their opinion, but just watch them as they were watching the movie. Like they didn't know, but like while they were watching the movie, I was watching them watching the movie.
Right. They know now.
And just seeing, but just seeing their reactions, I was able to just see, okay, they're not like I noticed like they might look down at their phone for a second, and I'm like, okay, so that's boring. That's boring. And I'm like, I like that because I'm like, oh wait, because I realized, especially off the top, I had a bunch of dialogue, but it was kind of just more like setting up the backstory stuff kind of stuff, which when I was writing it, I thought I needed. But then I noticed as I'm watching the movie and the overall flow and seeing how people were reacting to it, I was like, it doesn't need to be there. And plus, most of the stuff I'm establishing in the beginning, they'll have forgotten by the time they get to the end anyways. So now the runtime now is like 18 minutes because I just chopped so much out of it. So to answer your question, I'm the final editor and say, but I do benefit a lot from showing the movie to people and seeing not just what they have to tell me, but seeing how they react. So there'll probably be a screening of Storage Room B, like especially if we get to see each other and we can, interact with other people in the world. I would love to show you the movie at some point before it's fully done.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Oh, my dad's in the chat and my mom. Oh, good morning, everyone. My dad goes, we were supposed to be in Mexico today. COVID messed that up and said we get to watch the sit down. Yeah, that's right. That's just as good as a vacation in Mexico.
Exactly.
And speaking of film, Haley, Peter Hitchcock is in the chat. He goes, ask about Haley's movie. She acted in called A Song for Us. She sang and acted. It's a Toronto story about Yorkville. Thanks, the director.
Ooh.
So Haley, tell me a bit about A Song for Us.
Yeah, so A Song for Us, I think it was shot 2 years ago. So I think I guess it'd be 2019, but maybe 2018, I think. Because I'm thinking it's now 2021, but we're just in the beginning of it. But we shot it like the tail end of summer in Toronto, and it's the story. Basically, it focuses on Yorkville and the folk scene there in the 60s, which was a cool learning experience. Yeah, it was really neat. It was a cool learning experience for me because I really like that era of music, and I I'm quite influenced by folk, but I didn't know a ton about the Yorkville scene. Like I knew a lot of the musicians that were there, but it didn't occur to me that like Yorkville, which is now, the
Yorkville,
the bougie area in Toronto, was once effectively like their Kensington Market, right? And then it just slowly, I know, right? And then it's just slowly, or not even slowly, I guess they had like a tear down of a lot of the Victorian houses where people had their apartments and coffee shops and that sort of thing. but it was a lot of fun, and it was a cool project because I want to say like most of the cast were actors and musicians as well. So that was a lot of fun. So a lot of the cast members also wrote music for the film.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I got to write a couple songs for the film, and then one song that I had already pre-written ended up making it in the film. But that was a neat experience too, because I think it was my first time where I was writing a song, not just because I'm like, oh, I have something I have to get out, so I'm going to write a song about it. It was more so, there was an external prompt kind of, which was kind of cool. It was just neat writing songs with like an enabling constraint kind of, where like somebody gives you kind of like a theme, or they're like, this is what I imagine like one of the phrases to be, or the title might be this, and then you can kind of see what that brings out of you, which was a cool experience. So it's a really sweet story. It's basically I play a folk singer that comes over from England, and she meets a young draft dodger in Toronto from the States, and they hit it off, but it takes place both in the 60s, and then part of the film takes place in modern day, and there's a bit of a reconnection between the draft dodger and the folk singer, and yada yada. But I won't give away too much. It's a sweet it's a sweet film. I enjoyed doing it.
How exciting! And that's coming out.
Yeah.
Is that coming out in this year, I guess?
It just came out, I think January. Peter could correct me, but I think January 2nd or 3rd it came out. Yeah. So it was exciting. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So there you go, everybody. Make sure you check out us.
A Song for Us.
Yeah. Just available now. A Toronto story set in the 1960s, Toronto's Yorkville neighborhood. Yeah, I think I learned that in I can't remember where I saw that, but yeah, Yorkville was like a really, like, you could go to Yorkville and like Bob Dylan might be hanging out there. Like it was that type of place where like if you were like a trendy musician.
Yeah, definitely like Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell were definitely around the scene playing in a lot of the coffee houses, and it would have just been these small venues, right? Like you would go in and have like your cheeseburger or whatnot, and Gordon Lightfoot was just kind of hanging out on stage, which is kind of wild.
Now you see A-listers there. Well, not right now, but
during the film festival.
Last year or 2 years ago.
One day we'll be able to go and see these things again.
Yeah,
Did you? I walked by. Well, like TIFF happened in September, and usually TIFF is like so cool, and like you can walk around King Street there, and like they've got it all shut down. And like I was walking by there in the middle of the pandemic. I guess it would have been September, and I think I was just walking to Shoppers Drug Mart, and they had like TIFF was happening, but you wouldn't know that TIFF is happening. For people who don't know, TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival. But TIFF was happening, but the only reason that there was is like I was walking past like the TIFF Bell Lightbox building, and there was like one girl there wearing like a Ferrero Rocher uniform, and she was like trying to get people to like come inside and see their Ferrero Rocher exhibit, but like nobody's going in because nobody wants to go in and like
during a pandemic.
Yeah, but I was just like, it made me feel so sad. I'm like, first of all, if this was TIFF regularly, I would have been in there, and there would have been like a million people just like that. Handing out chocolate and all these samples and film stuff and all these little exhibits and stuff you can look at. And it was like, for me, like all of that had been condensed to this like one girl standing by herself trying to be like, hey, do you want to see our Ferrero Rocher exhibit? And I was like, no. No, I have my mask on. Bye.
Aw.
Yes, but no.
Yeah. So hopefully we're out of this soon. Regine, why don't we quickly do the ad break, because we're at, what are we at, 40 minutes? And then we're going to come back more, and then I want to talk about your album, Haley, because
thank you.
That's pretty cool. Okay.
Sweet.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode of The Sit Down was brought to you by some very important people, right, Regine? They make our show possible. They are, of course, our advertisers. Hey, Regine.
Yeah, Scott.
Do you want to find out what your home is really worth?
Maybe.
Are you buying, selling, investing, or renting a home?
It might be.
Then Jennifer C., Realtor at Home Life Culture Link, is here to help. Call or text Jennifer today at 647-403-8887. Don't deal with just anyone. Speak to a professional. Jennifer C. at Home Life Culture Link. To see her current listings, visit homelifeculturelink.com. The Mortgage Godfather is here to give you advice with any mortgage needs you may have, and he will shop to find you the best mortgage. Nino Simeka, mortgage agent. He'll give you an offer you can't refuse. He'll give you an offer you can't refuse, Regine. Find out more at mortgagegodfather.ca or call 905-604-6955. And it was brought to you by Jewelry Forever, conveniently located at CF Markville Shopping Center on 5000 Highway 7 East Markham. They do custom-made jewelry, repairs, and change watch batteries, all done on site. Jerry over at Jewelry Forever is an absolute artist. If you have an idea or a vision for something beautiful made in the form of jewelry, he is the man to create it for you, and we have an incredible deal worked out with him too, don't we, Regine?
Yes, we do, Scott. If you guys go in when restrictions are clear and lockdown is over, let them know that Scott and Regine sent you, and you'll get 15% off your entire purchase.
That's right, 15% off, 15%. Tell them Scott and Regine sent you, and get yourself something beautiful from Jewelry Forever. Find out more at jewelryforever.ca. And it was brought to you by Deliciousness Treats.
Deliciousness Treats hot chocolate bombs, dipped Oreos, smash cakes, and a few more coming along the way. Right now, we actually just launched our new charity bomb for January, which is the peppermint hot chocolate bomb. All proceeds of that will go to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. So if you're interested in ordering, follow us on Instagram at deliciousness_treats or Facebook at Deliciousness Treats.
There you go, people. Deliciousness Treats, an incredible hot chocolate bomb in a mug. It's an explosion of flavor. Everything you want in a hot chocolate, as well as smash cakes and other things. Deliciousness Treats. Sweet treats in a mug.
Oh God, I'm changing that slogan just because of you.
Well, if you would like to advertise on the show, ladies and gentlemen, it's very easy, right, Regine?
It's simple. All you guys have to do is email us at radioshowad, that's radioshowad@gmail.com.
That's right. Get in touch. It's a new year. New year, new you. A new chance to open a brand new relationship with a potential new client base. Right here on the show. We do the show live every week, and we do the ads live week to week. As you can see, it's happening right now, which means you can personalize the ads week to week. Do you have a sale or an event or something happening in a particular time and place? Well, then you let us know. We let the audience know in real time. Money, 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 raining from the sky. Find out more, radioshowad@gmail.com. Get in touch. Advertise on the show.
What was that?
That was that's
Money,
how
money,
you get the big
money.
bucks, Regine. Money, 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 raining from the sky. And we are back with the very talented actress, singer, songwriter, Haley Midgette. Hello.
Hello again. Hello. I didn't know chocolate bombs were a thing. That looked delicious. It was mesmerizing.
Yeah, they are mesmerizing. I actually just started making heart-shaped ones for Valentine's Day, and the videos will be coming out soon.
Very cute.
Wait, heart-shaped bombs?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, how fancy! How fancy. Okay, awesome. Yeah, they're really good. I can say myself, everybody, I've had them.
Scott was my guinea pig.
Yeah, and a very happy one at that. If you have any more that need
Scott,
testing,
do you
Regine.
want some here? I have a new flavor coming out, so I mean, if you want to pick up a few to try, I mean. You know where to find me.
Excellent sounds. Oh, hey, Zai Zai, what's up? Good morning. Welcome to the stream. We're here with singer-songwriter and actress Haley Midgette. Guess who's back? Yes, you are back, Zai Zai. Scott, how about you advertise my YouTube channel for 5 minutes every sit down? Hey, if you want us to advertise Zai Zai, radioshow80@gmail.com. But I will give you a shout-out. Shout-out to you, Zai Zai. And hey, Space Penguin, welcome to the show. Oh, Maria Brown, my mom also says, Regine, your hot chocolate bombs are delicious. Indeed, they are.
She's definitely ordered a lot. So.
She has. All right, so Haley, you recently came out with a really fantastic album. Tell us a little bit about Carla Avenue.
Thanks. Yeah. No, it's an EP. It's my first EP. And it's kind of like, I guess like a reflection on some relationships with like my family and just kind of like a coming of age, but rather than classic coming of age story from like teenager into young adulthood, it's more just kind of grappling with kind of like getting through the first few years of young adulthood, kind of coming out on the other side. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of what it's about. So I have like, you know, a couple songs about kind of like the impact of my grandfather in our relationship and just kind of, yeah, just reflecting on like, almost like my understanding of myself in relation to kind of my family, or kind of like unpacking the influences of, you know, your family relationships, I would say. That, and I think kind of coming to terms with, I don't know, what you really want, I suppose. Oh, and hold on one second. I'm getting an alert that my battery is low, which is odd because I'm plugged in. But that's super strange. Okay. But yeah, so that's what the album's about generally. Yeah.
Very cool. About relations with the family. The one video that you've got online that was kind of, I guess it's the song, but it's also, is that footage? It looks like old family footage. Is that of your actual family, or what was that?
Yeah. It was all from videos. It was my friend's. I'm pretty terrible when it comes to marketing, and I had a friend of mine who I acted in one of his films, and he was just kind of like, you should do more teaser and promo footage and that sort of thing, which is very true, so thank you, Kisser. Yeah, so he offered to kind of put it together, so I sent him a bunch of home video footage, and he just kind of like pulled some moments that he liked out of it. Yeah, and that was the result of that. So my family's very like pro home videos. I like watching them, so it was fun.
Yeah, and it works great for the video and setting the tone of the music and everything. It's nice.
I think so, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, the album to me, and I think like me as like, even as an artist, like I have a pretty kind of like homegrown kind of vibe. So I think, I think it worked really well, especially for this album too.
Awesome. Sounds great. I listened to the whole thing while I was cooking one day.
Thanks, Scott.
And
glad to be your
really
cooking soundtrack.
Yeah, that's really good. I really recommend it to everybody. Carla Avenue. Right now, it's on your. Is the place to get it your Bandcamp? Is that the main place?
If you want to support the artist, that's like highly recommended. But you can also stream it on like Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, all the usual places. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's right. Actually, for people who don't know, so if you buy it, every time you stream it on any of those places, like the artist gets like a
negligible,
like yeah. Yeah. But if you want the money to go straight to the artist, your best thing is to buy it directly from Bandcamp. And we have,
or when live shows are a thing, go to live shows. But not for the present, obviously. No. Yes.
So we have a song that we're gonna play. And why don't you set it up for us? What are we gonna be listening to from Carla Avenue?
Yeah, we're gonna be listening to No Show, which is the second track on the album, I believe. And it's more about, this one's kind of my relationship with myself. Like I kind of think about it when the idea popped into my head. It was almost kind of like the idea of like your muse, and I kind of envisioned it. Not the muse as some like external force of inspiration, but kind of like the muse as kind of like almost like your true self, or like what you really want, independent of kind of obligations to society, whomever it might be. and just kind of like that voice in us that doesn't want to, it's louder in some people, I think, than others, to just kind of, you know, go after what you want or kind of like be true to yourself. Yeah, and then I think it's also like me kind of grappling also with kind of like, I don't know, almost like femininity or the idea of the muse, like kind of like reimagining it. Because it's interesting, like, yeah, it's interesting, like the muse for me is still kind of like, I envision her as a woman, but it's not like when we hear of the muse in the classical sense, it's usually in the context of just kind of like, you know, the great artist talking about kind of their muse, and oftentimes they're men and it's a female figure. You know, and it's kind of like a implied like kind of like heterosexual relationship almost, or there's that kind of like dynamic to it. Whereas for me, being like a straight cis woman, that's not so much the case, but also it's just kind of interesting. Like one of the lines in there is just kind of like, you know, like, why is she a female form? Like everything wild is, and kind of, you know, why is that? So it just kind of has that angle to it as well. Yeah, and I think me just kind of like sorting out, yeah, it also kind of reflects a state of like kind of like confusion or discovery. I don't want to give too much away because I think that's part of the song, is just kind of like unpacking and not really getting to the bottom of this like giant bag kind of. But yeah, that'll be the little intro.
All right, cool. Well, everybody, think about that while we're listening to No Show by Haley Midgette. Enjoy, everybody.
She didn't come to me in a dream, can't be the mystic that she seems, but it's easier if I believe she is. She wakes me more and more, she shakes me more and more. Got a lot to give. Why is she a female form? Everything wild is. I can't put my finger on it. That is not the truth of it in the slightest, lying through my teeth a bit. And each time that she doesn't show, worry that she's quit. She doesn't seem to have a plan, thinks that if I gave a damn I would give up what they made me take. Seems to think it's fine to see no difference in my mind, asleep and awake. The fact that she's a female form, everything wild is, points to something earthly born. That is not the truth of it in the slightest, lying through my teeth a bit. And each time that she doesn't show, I worry that she's quit. The fact that she's a female form points to something earthly born. The fact that she's a female form, I can't put my finger on. Ooh, that is not the truth of it. It's lying through my teeth a bit. And each time that she doesn't show, I worry that she's quit.
And that was No Show by Haley Midgette. Beautiful song. Well done.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
I love the picture that you have there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like that photo too. It's of we would. So my grandfather lived on a small island off the coast of North Carolina, and so every year we would go down there for a family reunion, just to kind of get together. So I went like every year from the age of, I think, like quite literally like 0 when I was about 2-3 months old to the age of 26 probably. And now I'm 29. We would go down and just kind of have a beach vacation. It was just like it was so cool because as kids you would like, the three of us, like my siblings and I, my parents, we would drive down in the classic Chrysler minivan that like a lot of people remember from the 90s. We'd be at the beach for a week, and it just kind of felt like a second home in this kind of world that was like totally other, but also just like very familiar. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice because I still feel like, my cousins, having spent, a week together every year as like kids, you really kind of like grow quite close. And even though I don't see them now terribly regularly, now during COVID, I haven't been to the States in a while, obviously, but we're still like, I don't know, I just feel like I could, call any of them up and they'd be there kind of thing. So it was like a nice network. So so that photo just kind of felt right somehow.
No, it's a beautiful photo. I love, I grew up with looking at old photos. Like my mom could tell you she has bins and bins of photos of us when we were younger. So I just love that vibe in general, and it's so sweet, especially because you were saying that a lot of your music is influenced by your family. So
yeah, well, that album in particular, definitely. So I knew it would be some sort of kind of vintagey throwback photo, and then I stumbled on that one. I was like, yeah, I think that's the one.
I wonder what photos are going to be like now. Like
filtered.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean. Like, it's the same thing. Like, I've got family albums and photos and bins of photos. I guess we all do.
Your
it's
family
like, this is my parents and my grandparents.
Everywhere.
Yeah, but it's like there's that thing of like opening a box and like looking through and like, oh, look at this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, the thing is, we have more photos now than ever, but it doesn't feel the same.
They're not printed.
What it's gonna look like.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like you can't really. You can forget about them, and I've definitely gone back and like scrolled through, old photos even from like last year on my phone, and I'm like, oh, haha, like I remember that, but it doesn't. It's not the same feeling as like kind of like unearthing like an old album, and you're like, ooh. And maybe it will, but it's just. It's definitely just a shift. I was having a conversation with my friend like months ago, and he's just like, I wonder if like anybody in our generation is gonna have the experience that like. He's like that I've seen like my parents have, where it's like they're getting together with an old friend that they haven't seen in like 15 years or something, and you meet up at the restaurant and you're just kind of like, oh my god, like Scott, you look so different, like it's amazing, but because you've seen them like change through like Facebook or whatever, right?
That's true.
Like it's not the same. It's not a time capsule effect anymore in the same way, and in some regards. But
Yeah.
That's really true.
That's the thing. Yeah, like people I haven't seen literally since high school, but like I generally know, oh look, they've got kids.
Oh yeah.
They've got,
Yeah, you had a baby. I haven't seen you in 10 years, but like, great.
But I know everything that's going on in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In fact, in a weird way, I guess it's bad and good in the sense that, oh, it's neat because we can kind of keep in touch. But then at the same time, I do find that like, because you kind of are keeping tabs on each other, you don't, it almost feels like, even though I haven't seen this person in like 10 years, I feel like I kind of have, but so it almost like dissuades you from actually seeing people.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's interesting because like I actually had a phone call with one of my best friends from high school 3 days ago, and we literally were talking about people we used to hang out with, and we were all like, yeah, this person's married, this person has a kid. I haven't seen you in like years. But it's true. You know, literally, like everyone knows that I do pageants and started a chocolate bomb business, and I haven't spoken to them in like 5 years. But hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's different, definitely. or I guess different. I think it's the only version that I've experienced, right? But like different from what you hear like your parents talking about, you know what I mean? Because I've definitely heard stories of like, we should give so and so a call. Like we haven't seen them in like 10 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you might go through the same process, but it's this weird. I wonder if in some ways, like, and maybe this is what you were getting at, Scott, that like feeling of just kind of like, oh, I almost like don't have to call. It's like I know what's going on in their life, and you're just kind of like, oh, like is that satisfying? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
And like I've got maybe, I feel like I have like 3 photos of like, actually I don't even know if I've seen a photo of my great grandfather. I don't know. You just gotta think like one day it'll be like, hey, do you want to see your great grandfather's YouTube channel? Look, he used to like,
he used to stream.
Yeah. Do you want to see your great grandfather's scene phase? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. It's gonna be.
So.
Yeah. It'll be weird, like just seeing, because I will say, like, other than kind of just like, oh, you know, here's your mom with her like 80s haircut and like all the like the puff sleeves and shoulder pads, like you have those like fun photos, but we're just gonna have like, you know, all the hilarious like makeup trends that we went through in high school and that kind of thing, like, you know what I mean? You think about it, you're like, there's going to be just evidence, just like, oh, what was grandma like when she was 14? It's like, oh, well, here's a plethora of images to kind of give you a sense of that.
Check my
it's really
Facebook.
Different.
It's all there.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing I'm glad about is I didn't start using Facebook until a little bit later on, but so I have noticed that especially people younger, maybe actually they've probably moved up. Nowadays, young people aren't even on Facebook anymore, but there was a time when you would post kind of everything on there, and so you could go into like, yeah, but you could see like a 16-year-old's like them, and they're all drunk at a club or like, right?
Okay, that wasn't
so, like,
me.
But so like now it's gonna be like, hey, what was your great grandfather doing? Oh well, here's him like
on a sweet 16,
wasted at a house party. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's funny that yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It's funny, Scott, that you say that, because I am that younger person that used to post literally everything on Facebook. Like, I was the girl that had a camera, like a digital camera everywhere with her. Like, I was taking selfies before selfies were a thing. So if you go through my Facebook from like high school onwards, it's all there. And like, you know how Facebook is like memories from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I am so embarrassed of what I would write as like status. I'm like, why did I write that? What was I going through?
Yeah, it's just, I think that the journey with growing up and like kind of leaving your high school self behind is you're just like, oh, that's so interesting. The things that I was hyper focused on or were top of mind are very important to me. Yeah, but that's just how it is, right? It's just kind of like that. Such was life back then. You know,
I'm like, Facebook, why are you reminding me of what I wrote? Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, Scott, I'm like you in that it took me a while, because I think I didn't have Facebook until I was like the tail end of high school. And it was definitely like a thing, like well into like, I don't know, I feel like maybe like grade 8, 9 people started kind of getting Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, which looking back, I was like, I'm glad. I'm glad not to have that documented. But
I'm embarrassed.
The only reason I got it was I remember at the time I was chatting with another singer friend of mine, and he was like, "Are you on Facebook?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't want to. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to post." He's like, "I'm like, dude, I have my MySpace, and that's for my music. That's it, right?" And he was like, "No, man, MySpace is great. Yes, it's good to have your MySpace page, but like, if you want to have your music to people, you got to be on Facebook, man." And I was just like, all right, fine. So that's the only reason why I got on Facebook at all.
I think I update your Facebook with the pictures that I tag you in more than you post on your Facebook.
Yeah, that's probably true. I just don't, well, I don't, yeah, and I noticed, like Haley, for example, you with Instagram, like I know like you have one, but you don't really post on it much. I know you're saying you're planning to start more.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think it's kind of like a necessary, or I've been told, and everything I'm reading is basically it's necessary if you kind of want to, if you have music you want to promote, social media is going to be part of your performance plan or promotion plan. But yeah, it's not, I don't know. Yeah, historically it's just not even been like on a personal level really a point of interest. Like I try to minimize the amount of time I'm spending on social media. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to like embrace it a little bit. So we'll see. But it's not something I naturally gravitate towards. But especially because live music is kind of out of question for the time being. It's it's probably something I'll have to embrace more. But I have to just find ways to do it that still feel kind of like authentic to me and don't make me kind of like view it as a chore. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's like, and like I'm sure anybody, you just kind of like you get used to kind of this self-promotional aspect of things, and it feels quite uncomfortable at first, but then you probably get in the mindset of just kind of like, you know what, my audience is presumably out there. Those who will listen will want to listen, and those who don't won't, and that's okay. Like I don't have to feel weird about this or pushy. So I think maybe that's the ground that I'm at. Yeah. But we'll see.
I don't think it's a bad thing that you've not been on it much. I actually think I've talked about it briefly on the show as well lately, but I've been finding myself pulling back more and more from, especially Twitter, but even Instagram as well. Like I just find there'll just be times where I'll just find myself looking at it and just like going like this. Just like, and I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at it.
Yeah. So when
I get a
notification that you like something, you actually didn't comprehend what you were liking.
But that's the thing. Like I'm almost on the like, because like I'm almost on the thing where I'm like just like. So any of my friends or like other musician friends or you, Regine, as well, who have posted something that they're promoting their stuff, I'll always leave a like and a comment. So like I make sure I do that. But other than that, that's sort of sheer like basically all I use it for. And even when I made Instagram, I made it. For me, it's just a promotional tool. It exists to advance my career in some way. So like, there's nothing on my Instagram that isn't serving that purpose. I don't feel like any of my real life is there. And I kind of like it that way, keeping it kind of at arm's length, because I do find there is that addictive element of, like I said, I'll find myself scrolling and then I'll like exit the app and then I'll go to Twitter and then I'll scroll through Twitter and then I'll close Twitter, and sometimes without even noticing I'll open Twitter again or Instagram. So it's like I was scrolling through it and then I turned it off and then I just like instinctively just
go back,
opened it again and started scrolling again. And I'm like, and then I'll notice that I just did that and I'm like, this isn't good. Like, first of all, I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm just doing it. Like this.
Well, you're getting the tiny little dopamine hit initially, right? Yeah. But you definitely like. But I think like noticing is the first step, right? Because I definitely like anytime like I'm kind of like bored or something happens and I'm like slightly anxious and I'm like, oh, what should I do about that? And it's like, well, we'll think about that later. And then my brain's just kind of like, where's your phone? And you're like, okay, like why don't we do something else? But you have to notice it first, and it's like. It's hard. Like I notice it probably like 1 in 5 times. And then most of the time it's just kind of like, oh, I'm already on my phone seeing if, and in my case, because I think I have Instagram on my phone, but it's like buried on page 3 and I just am not in the habit of signing into it. But other than that, like I only have like, really I can access my phone for like Facebook Messenger, text messaging, and email. But even then, like not having the really like highly addictive apps on my phone, it's still like email becomes kind of like, oh, okay, has anybody emailed me? And you're like, okay, do you need to check this every hour? Like you don't need to.
Every 5 minutes. Let's go.
Or every 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yep. In fact, I'm getting worse at. I used to be very, very particular about like always clearing my inbox. So like there was never any unread emails in my email box.
How many notifications do you have now?
Oh God.
Well, now it's so I do find that I click on the inbox so that the notifications aren't there, but like now I can scroll back down and there are tons of unopened emails.
Oh, that stresses me out.
I have 5,300 or 5,013 unread emails in my inbox.
That stresses me out. Like
because there's so much spam.
It has to be read. And delete it or unsubscribe.
It's not worth my time though. And like with the search function, like I can find everything I need to. I will go through and I'll do like mass deletes once my storage is appropriate. I'm like, okay, I don't need anything from Mandy.com anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't be bothered to sort and whatnot. I think there was some sort of like study that somebody did on that too. because depending on what email client you use, if your search function is effective, there's really no benefit to like sorting. It's kind of like a mental task and like psychologically makes you feel productive. But like in terms of ease of accessing the file, you know, depending on your situation, of course. But in my case, like, meh. I don't know.
That stresses me. Like if
That's very fair.
like I turn my notifications off because I hate seeing the number next to the icon. But then like my email in general, like if I will check my spam like folder as well and just delete everything because I can't have unread messages. It's it stresses me out. Or if I realize that it's taken me like an hour to get back to someone, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Oh man,
I'm a little OCD that way, I guess.
I don't even open my spam. I don't know what's in the spam folder. It's probably full of just everything.
But that's
I've
why
been
I
finding
feel
myself.
like
I've just yeah.
that's why like if someone reaches out to me that's a guest, they'd be like, oh, I sent Scott an email but I haven't heard back. I'm like, one moment, Scott, did you get an email?
Yeah, well, you know, especially in that case, usually I'll find, so if I get an email and I know it's related to the show, but I'm busy with something else, I won't even open it. I'll just kind of know that it's there, and then I'll eventually get back to them. But I just find I've been increasingly worse and worse at email and social media in general.
This is like the longest on Sundays that I go without checking my emails. And there's probably like 10 emails. And it's probably all advertisements.
Yeah. So much spam.
Let's check.
I will say, like, I am pretty good with keeping my phone. Like, yeah, like I can see I got a bunch of notifications on my phone. And I am good with clearing those. I don't like having notifications just on my initial, like, sort of whatever you call it, the desktop or the notification board. I'll swipe those all to the side. Most of it's junk. But in terms of my actual email inbox, yeah, I've just been pulling back more and more. I've been trying to be on Twitter less and less, but I still like to go on. Like, it is still where I get most news. But I don't know. I've been finding, especially with the pandemic, it's kind of not a source of anything but stress.
Yeah. I feel like in some ways I've had my head buried this year for that reason, because it's just like, you know, it's like depending on what you have space for, but I'm like, I don't think I have space to just kind of like, you know, a lot of the time just kind of like I'm alone in my apartment and just kind of like be bombarded with like, here's a list of terrible things that are happening in the world. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I don't want to ignore this, but like 99% of it, I'm not going to be able to act on.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have my scope of focus and like things I can pay attention to in a day is only so big. And I'm like, I don't want 90% of it to be, you know, negative stuff that I cannot do anything about, really. Right. Yes. Is the reality.
I feel like Twitter is just full of fake news or politics, and that's why I don't use it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, the thing that makes it less, and again, this is a fairly apolitical show, so we're not going to really dwell on this long, but I will say that it's just what I found, I think that's also made me pull back, is that like most of my Twitter, I really just follow, used to be, I don't know, celebrities I like, or like, you know, musicians or film stuff, you know. I do follow some of the major news organizations just so I get the headlines. But the thing that I found that I haven't appreciated as much is just almost every celebrity that I would follow, that maybe they used to post funny things. It's just in the last while, it's all politics. And I'm just like, all right, well then I guess
that's done.
I don't, you know, and I don't care what you think or what you have, you know, and that's not why I'm following you. That's not why I'm looking at this. So maybe that's why it's also turned me off. Is like, I think you're right, Regine. It's just kind of, I feel like I'm just not that interested in it. That's all. So, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for. Yeah. Instagram has generally actually been able to be less that. I think maybe because it's more about photos. So it's kind of been insulated from that a little bit. So I do kind of enjoy Instagram more. I just find Instagram I tend to waste time. Whereas I'll just like I said, I just like, you know what I was reminded of? I remember a long time ago I saw this video of like, it was a gorilla. And I can't remember what it was. I think they had given him a tablet or something. And the gorilla is just on there. He was just like,
you're a gorilla, Scott.
And he's like doing this. And like, I don't know even if he knew what he was looking at. I mean, how would he know what this is, right? But like, I guess somehow it's been taught to like, and every time I do that, every time I catch myself like just sort of
Gorilling.
instinctively scrolling but not really paying attention to what I'm looking at, I always have that image of that gorilla, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm just like this. I'm just like
Oh my god, I'm a gorilla.
I'm mindlessly just I always get that image in my head, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and then I want to stop.
Well, you start to feel like the two like competing neural networks in your brain, like the part of you that's kind of like, we don't need to be doing this right now. We have a whole life we could be living. Yeah, or go to bed in most cases. But then the other part of your brain is just kind of like, no, like don't you want to see the next image? Like you can really feel it. It's a weird thing. Yeah.
It's scary, and I don't know what it all means, but I feel like there's something in it that's not good. So be aware of your screen time, everybody. Yeah.
Oh, I have too much screen time.
I think we all do. I mean the thing is, I've realized I'm very rarely not, like, basically screen time is almost all of my time.
Yeah,
Like, if
because
it's
you're
not staring at a
streaming for
phone-
5 hours.
Yeah, so I'm live streaming in the evening. Right now we're on screens. I've got 4 screens in front of me right now, right? Then after this, I'm going to get up. I'm probably going to go make
Wait, you
breakfast.
have 4
and then
screens in front of you?
I've got 2 here. I've got my laptop and then my phone. So I've got 4 screens. I'm going to go make breakfast, and then I'm probably going to watch some TV, and then maybe a movie. And then if I go back to work, it'll be in front of a screen.
Have you
And the
got
only
blue
time
light
I don't is
glasses yet?
No, but I think I should. I've been talking about it for so long to get something like that.
I'll just
That's
order
the
you a
problem is
pair
that-
and send it to your house.
It's not a bad idea. But that's the
Happy
thing,
birthday.
because my work is also a screen. It's like, it's very rare that I'm not, like, my fun is on a screen and my work is on a screen. And the only respite is like, if I go for my daily walk, which is nice. Or if I'm in the shower, I don't bring a phone with me in the shower.
I
Yet.
hope not.
Yeah. So,
No, don't. Scott's streaming in the shower.
well, I don't know if I would stream in the shower. Although, OnlyFans, there's a market. I'm sure there's a market for that. But not
Please
yet.
don't.
I'm not there yet.
He's not desperate, guys.
Yeah. One thing, Haley, I remember you mentioned so you were interviewed recently, and I read the interview through. Good interview. It was a good interview, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks.
But you mentioned that you are a big fan of the musical Cats.
Yes. I
just wanted to ask. So, is Cats like one of your favorite musicals?
On a certain level, like, I think it has a huge nostalgia factor for me, and I also I don't know, I think it's I think the music's great, the dancing's phenomenal. It's weird, I get it. Like, a lot of people don't like Cats. It's very strange. I should say I have not seen the movie, and I don't know if I will.
Oh,
I was gonna
I
ask
might
if
one
you've
day.
seen the movie.
No, it was for me, it was the ultimate. It just kind of seemed like the ultimate example of, they take a beautiful stage production and they throw a bunch of celebrities into the main character roles, film celebrities, and then it's a film all of a sudden. When Cats specifically, like, the joy and magic of the stage production is kind of like seeing those characters come to life, and it's like the whole cast basically is just like freaky triple threat talents. You know what I mean? Like, some people where they're like singers, actors, and they're practically gymnasts. Like, it's wild. But so I mean, like, you can always do something different with film. It's a bit more intimate. We saw with Les Mis, like, a lot of people like loved Anne Hathaway's performance of like I Dreamed the Dream, and it is totally different. But for me, it's just kind of like, I don't know, like, I've seen Ruthie Henschel do it, and like, you know what I mean? So on film, I haven't seen her do it in person, but her stage performance on screen. And I think with with Cats, I don't know, it's just like, it's just playful, and the dancing's awesome. And I like Cats, and like, it's based on a book of poems from T.S. Eliot, where he's basically just describing cat personalities, which I think is just a kind of, I don't know, if you're a cat person, like, the book of poems is pretty funny. Like, it's very nuanced and observant and kind of witty, I think. Yeah, and I like how I like how ridiculous the stage musical is as well. No, but I think like, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna ask you about the film next to see what your thought about it. I actually think it's probably good that you haven't seen it. I
think so too.
Yeah, well, I saw the film. The film is all I've ever seen of Cats. I've never seen the musical.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and the thing is, the film is weird, right? Because there's this weird thing where they did a bunch of computer graphics on the actors to make them feel like they're real cats, but they're not real cats because they still got human faces. So they're this weird cat-human hybrid thing that's creepy either way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's a bizarre movie. It's just a weird movie. I don't even know what you're watching. But
it was on TV the other day.
Yeah, but the thing that I wondered about it was because I did start watching some of the stage show. Like, there's a lot of it on YouTube. You can watch like snippets and songs and stuff.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I did think of, because I remember when I was watching it in theaters, everyone in the audience was just making a big joke of it. Like, there was some people behind me that they must have seen it a couple times before, and they were just seeing it again for fun. And it kind of bugged me because they were talking the whole time, and I remember the person next to me actually yelled at them because I was just like, okay, great, you've seen the movie, but you're still in a movie theater and like other people haven't seen it, and I was kind of, but one thing that did strike me about it though was there's a scene in the movie where suddenly they just start talking to the camera, like they just break the fourth wall and start singing right into the lens, and it was very jarring to see it happen because I'm like, wait, when did this start, right? But then I realized that I think there must be something in the live show where there's more of a relationship with the audience, because like it's not weird for like an actor to sing out or communicate with the audience when you're watching a musical, right? Mm-hmm. And so I realized that there must be a connection, like kind of an in on the joke, an in on it type of relationship between the audience and the performers in the stage show version of Cats that I think the musical movie wasn't able to capture. So,
or maybe tried to a little bit. Yeah, I think that's accurate. It's been a long time since I've watched the film of the stage production, but yeah, there's definitely, if I'm recalling correctly, like you kind of have your main narrator that's kind of like you're a gateway into the world of the Cats, and he very much kind of like establishes kind of what you're about to see, and they do a couple, at least one group number where they're just kind of like introducing you to their kind of like, it very much like, I guess not, I don't know if I'd call it like breaking the fourth wall, I suppose it is, but basically just like they're conscious of kind of like that they're inviting you into their world kind of, which works like flawlessly in the stage production, but I can see in film, like, you're very separated, and especially if it's, you've kind of like in any film, like I think any film you watch where all of a sudden, the fourth wall gets broken, it's a pretty jarring effect if it's the first time it's happened and it's already been established that you're kind of, totally just like a passive observer, right? But that's it. Yeah, that's interesting that they would have done kind of both.
Yeah, well, I think the director that did the movie was the same guy who did the Les Mis one. So again, they went for this sort of hyper-realistic, like similar to what the movie was. They basically tried to make it like a realistic movie where they're actually singing and stuff. I just feel like for Cats, it feels like it doesn't work. In fact, it actually did make me want to go, maybe I should go see the stage show, because I just think they made a mistake. I just think they made a mistake with the movie in that the stage show, like you were saying, it's more about the amazing skills of the performers, right? And like, so they don't attempt to convince you that like these are you're watching real cats. These are cats singing to you. You know what I mean? It's like, this is
kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just, so anyways, the movie's weird. I mean, I suggest watching it just because it's like, I don't think there's any movie like it. It's such a strange experience. But
I definitely will get to that. I'll probably watch it with my siblings just because we grew up watching the stage production, so we can all kind of like share our
Compare,
horror or delight or whatever emotions are brought up. But and it seems like it's kind of going to be a funny watch in some ways. But stage-wise, they also do, I think, the film, because I think I've seen it live, but I think the film of the stage performance as well, I think does a really good job, especially because there's so many, like a lot of, like Cats is very much kind of like almost like a series of vignettes on these like different characters, right? So the film of the stage production does a really good job of kind of giving each of those characters a moment, and you can see their facial expressions up close, but you still kind of have the ambiance of kind of like, oh, they're in an open space, and this is kind of a contained performance, which is cool. So yeah, I would give that a watch and see. But I also think like it might be one of those things, like I am conscious of the fact like I don't know how I would react as if I was at my age seeing Cats for the first time. I've been like, oh, that's kind of funny and weird, but it's just like you grow up with something and you're like, this is the best. Like,
That's
like,
fair.
Yeah. So it might be that might be in play.
Yeah. There's definitely a contingent of people that love Cats. Like they exist. Like Cats was like hugely popular for like a long time. So it exists. I do want to see the stage show, and yeah, I think the film version of the stage shows, I've seen a few musicals that way. Like I feel the same way with Hamilton. I saw Hamilton. Actually, Hamilton was the last musical I saw before the pandemic hit, and my seats were way at the back. Yeah, I managed to see it. Yeah, but my seats were way at the back, and I actually didn't like it that much. But I think the problem was, again, I was sitting in an audience of people who love Hamilton, and so like even before anything on stage would happen, the audience was already like in anticipation, being like, oh man, this, and then like somebody would come out and do something and they thought it was the funniest thing they ever saw, and I was like, well, hang on, it wasn't that funny. But then I realized they're reacting to like their love of it, and I feel like in a lot of ways it's the same as like if you go to a concert for a band that you've never seen or heard any of their songs. It's the difference between that and going to your favorite band's concert where you know every song,
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, if Queen starts playing We Are the Champions, as soon as he plays the first part of the piano, everyone goes nuts. But if you never heard that song, you're like, well, let me hear this song first, and then I'll decide if I like it,
Yeah, and it's not, the anticipation of the moment isn't there, right? If you're just kind of like open to receive whatever might come your way. Had you listened to the Hamilton soundtrack before going at all, or was it totally fresh?
I knew nothing about it, nothing at all. And so, so then I saw it for the first time. So then it ended, and I was like, oh, that was okay. And then a few months later, the film version came out on Disney Plus, and I really liked that. And I don't know if maybe the cast was better, but also you could see their faces better because, like I said, I was at the back of the theater. But now it's like, oh, I get it. Like I actually really like Hamilton now. It's not my favorite. It's not the Phantom.
It's not your top 3.
No.
But
I still really like it. I appreciated it, and I learned a lot about American history too. So.
Yeah, it's cool for that. I think there's some major dates and that song's always the easiest way for me to remember things. So I'm just kind of like, I now know some key dates about the Revolutionary War thanks to that musical. But I really enjoyed Hamilton. It's definitely one of my favorite shows. I think I used to walk not when it first came out, but it was newer on the scene, and I would walk to work. So I had like a half-hour walk to work, and I would walk both ways rapping Hamilton for like probably a solid like 2 months. That was my soundtrack, and then eventually I was like, okay, it's time to move on. But it's just like, it's really amazing. The lyrics are so witty, but I think a show like that too, where everything happens so quick, and the whole plot is really moved forward in the songs, right? It's not like you just kind of have a big number that's kind of reflecting what the characters have just said or kind of expanding on it. It's just like, if you're not hearing the lyrics to the songs, you're missing potential moments as well, and potential plot advancement. So I had a couple family members in Atlanta that went to go see it. I was jealous that they could get tickets because I was like, I I can't spend $1,000 and go to New York. It's just not gonna happen. But I told them, I was just like, yeah, just make sure you listen to the soundtrack before you go, because I think it is one of those shows. Like, there's other shows where it's like I've definitely gone and been like kind of like, I just want to be kind of surprised. I don't want to hear the soundtrack beforehand. But with that one, because everything is so quick, I think you kind of enjoy it more because you know what they're saying and the lyrics are so important. Versus a lot of that kind of like wit can be lost if you can't keep up, which I don't think I would have, like half of it wouldn't have registered. And I still like, you know, and even actually watching the movie version, I remember with the visual component to it, I picked up on some things that I had missed listening to the soundtrack over and over again. Like little jokes or little moments where I'm like, oh, that's what they meant by that. I get that all of a sudden now. Yeah, so it was cool too. Yeah.
Cool. Well, check it out, people. Hamilton is good.
Yeah,
and,
have you heard of it? Yeah.
Hamilton and Cats. Got it.
And also, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, you are a pretty big Disney fan, which I like because we're big Disney fans here as well.
Nice.
So you were a big fan of, so your favorite is Mary Poppins? That's your favorite one?
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, I really like it. I love Julie Andrews.
What did you think of the new one?
I didn't watch it because I prefer to have the old one in my mind. I think.
Well, it's not like they're not replicating the original. It's kind of like a continuation of their story.
For sure, yeah.
Just
watch
totally
it.
a different Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
No, but yeah,
Totally different.
I get that. I get that. I feel the same way with, like, I know a lot of people are really, like, Star Wars, for example, is very divisive. You either love the new Star Wars or you don't like it, or more likely, a lot of people are very just kind of like, meh, about the new Star Wars. But anyway, there's a lot of division in that world. But I found, in kind of dividing it in my mind, I'm just being like, classic Star Wars is, for me, that's Star Wars. And this new stuff, it's fine. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I don't like it, but I won't allow that to impact how I feel about the one that I, is important to me.
But didn't you watch the movie like 3 times in theaters?
Yeah, I actually did like some of the new stuff. I did, but there's also parts of it that I don't like. Like it's an imperfect thing. But I feel like if I was more like, how are you? I can't believe you're doing this to this thing that I love. But now I kind of think, no, they're not. They're just doing something else. I've kind of just segmented the two.
Yeah, I'm sure it is just different. Yeah, but I think what I love about the original Mary Poppins is just like, I really, really, like, I love Dick Van Dyke, and I love Julie Andrews, but it also just kind of had a bit of a vibe of like a stage kind of show, even though it was a movie. And I think that's just a product partially of like the era in which it was filmed, right? Like you don't have, and I think like I'm not somebody that's like terribly drawn in by like effects and visuals. Like I definitely gravitate more towards kind of like the characters and the music and the little like magical moments that they create just by being them, really. So I think like I've even gone to shows, like I remember going to like The Sound of Music, which is a fantastic production, but I think like they had like a whole like moving platform, which was like spectacular. But at the same time, I was like, honestly, this could have been like a black box production. Like a lot of that gets kind of like not lost on me. Like I notice it, but it's not the wow factor for me, I suppose. So like,
actually, what I saw? I saw that production of Sound of Music, and I remember I had really good seats. I think my mom, maybe she won them. Anyway, I ended up with these great. I was in like the second row. I was in the second row. And they had this big rotating platform, but you know what took it out for me is that, again, I love the movie, but so it starts and it's like she's like laying on the ground, but the platform is sideways, so it kind of looks like a bird's eye view, but it's because the ground is sideways.
Right.
And then the big platform rotates, but then I remember as it was rotating, I could hear it going like because it was like a giant piece of wood, and it just kind of broke the reality for me. And I kind of agree. I'm like, oh no, this didn't really need all that. The ground could have just been the ground. But
well, yeah, and ideally, like the most captivating thing is always the performer, really, right? Like they're like, or you know, in that opening, like the most captivating thing, even when she's like, you know, in the movie, she's surrounded in like, you know, they have the mountains of Austria, and it's this gorgeous scene, but partially the most captivating thing is just like the pure joy that's radiating through Julie Andrews, right? And you're there with her, living through her. Yeah, and I think like sometimes it's hard in a theater too. If you're like super, super far back, you can't see the facial expressions in that way. So it's just like having a greater spectacle is, you know, definitely can enhance the performance that way. But I think that's why like a lot of the shows that like I tend to like enjoy the most are kind of in a more like intimate setting, minimal props. Like I remember seeing I saw it like twice in the last couple of years, but like Secret Life of a Mother, I think that's what it's called. The Secret Life of a Mother, which had like Mev Beebe, who's like a big Canadian actor. But it was just a really intimate show, but you were just kind of like right there with her, and you could feel everything with her because you were just so close. And it was just like it is such a different like theater experience than when you're in a larger venue, I think. So it's just different.
I guess there's this I don't know if people feel the pressure, like people who are creating theater, especially musicals, maybe they feel like, because I think theater, not as many people go to the theater maybe as they used to, so in this desire to get people who like movies to come watch the theater, they feel this need to like recreate the film on stage. And I think vice versa, they kind of feel the need to, you know, so they're, let's make this one into a movie. And I feel like sometimes, like, there are things that work on one and things that work on the other, and there are some things you can translate, but I do think you can kind of get in trouble if you just, you need to respect, I guess, I don't know, the medium of each one, maybe?
Yeah,
there's something,
yeah. No, I think you're right. Like, I mean, and teach their own, but I think for me, when like I see a stage performance and it somehow becomes like more about the spectacle than about kind of like the acting or more about the spectacle. Yeah, I think more about the spectacle than the characters, which I totally get why you would gravitate towards that, because like that does bring in a lot of audience members. But yeah, like another cool example would be, did you guys see Sweeney Todd live ever? Because it was here.
I did not actually, I know. Did you see it?
Yeah, it was. No, it was. I don't know when. Like, I would have seen it like I think it was again in high school, but it still sticks in my mind because, and I think it was. I don't know if this is like the original production was done like this, but they had like the performers all played instruments as well. Like they were the orchestra, so they were on stage, and it was really cool and like super minimalist set. Like it was all just kind of like, you know, nothing really changed too much. But it was just like so effective. It was very cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, so then to take that to the opposite, did any of you guys see the Lord of the Rings musical?
No, I didn't.
I haven't even watched the movie or read the book.
Okay, well, I watched the Lord of the Rings musical. It like, if I remember right, it had its world premiere in Toronto, and I got to see it, and it was like I think at the time it was maybe the biggest budget they spent on a musical ever. Like there were so many effects. Like they had all these digital screens and things moving and like people on aerial stuff, and it was like super intense.
Was it good?
And it sucked. No, it sucked. It sucked very bad.
No.
It was not good. And actually, it's funny because I remember at the time it was like, it got really bad reviews in Toronto, and like, but it was like a British production. They like, I guess they were just sort of trying it out in Toronto, and then at the time I remember I read some article in like the newspaper, and like the creator was like, oh, well, I think Canadian audiences just don't understand the subtlety of blah, 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 right? So then it went to like back to the UK, and then it bombed there too. And I was like, oh, well, I guess apparently British audiences don't understand the subtlety. I was like, no, it's just not good. Anyways, but yeah, so there you go. It's like you don't need. Oh, Dr. Fool 2 is now following. Hello, welcome to the channel. Welcome. We're here with Haley Midgette. But yeah, so basically, You know what? It's actually that reminds us what you were just saying. The same thing happened with the Lion King musical. It was like they had all this stuff happening to recreate the stampede, and then I saw in Simba's eyes, I'm like, you just look bored. Like, you're not running from a stampede, you know? And it was like all of that spectacle didn't matter because the one actor at the front's performance was just blah, and that was it for me. You know?
Right, you didn't believe the actor, so it didn't matter what was behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, theater, no matter how much money you spend on it, like it's never going to look as real as film does, because it's not real, right? Like it's flats and it's painting and it's dancing and it's, you know, but I think people are willing to suspend their disbelief more in live theater because it is more about the performance of the actors in the room.
Oh yeah, it's like the energy of being like in somebody's direct presence is just a bit different. You just see them there as a three-dimensional figure. It just feels different.
Yeah.
It just is. Yeah.
Did you guys see the new Mulan movie, the Mulan remake?
Yes.
No, I have not yet. What'd you think?
I like the cartoon.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I'm glad that I didn't spend money to watch it, like, because you know how you could pay to watch it. No, I am grateful
at the time when it came out
that I waited. Yeah. I don't know.
I watched it.
No.
It's I actually thought it was a terrible movie. I didn't like it at all.
I mean, I could appreciate it, but I prefer the original.
I feel about have you seen any of the Disney remakes, Haley? As a Disney fan, how you feel about all these
hates
Disney
the remakes.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I've watched any of them.
Just keep the originals to your heart.
You're not missing anything. You're missing nothing.
Yeah,
You're not missing anything.
Have you guys watched Soul?
No,
I
I've
haven't watched Soul yet.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
See, we were talking about learning instruments in school. Like, it brought me back to that movie, but I didn't want to ask, so I'm glad that we're talking about it now.
Nice.
I will be watching that one, actually. I watched Inside Out for the first time recently. And
that's a nice flick. I like Inside Out a lot.
I was crying. I was crying several times. You know?
Have you watched Onward
talked about
yet?
It, I think, on the show. No, I haven't watched Onward yet. But Pixar, they know what they're doing. They're good, those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they do.
Mulan is a terrible film, though. It's, you know, the thing I don't like about it. You know, the thing I really didn't like about it, is, well, actually, wait, I don't want to spoil it. Well, it's not really spoilers. It's kind of spoilers.
Just so you don't spoil anything, what I liked it in the moment because I was like, oh yeah, it's a good movie, and then I thought about it again, and I was like, I like the original.
Well, here's one thing I will say about it, and I'll kind of keep it general. But like, the last movie, I feel like had a pretty solid like feminist message, right? The idea that like, you know, women can do what men can do as well, and like, you know, kind of that. This movie doesn't have a feminist message because they changed the nature of what Mulan can do, and it's like it's not based on her being a woman anymore, really. Because, I mean, should I just say, Regine, like what she has? I mean, Haley, do you mind? Like,
I wouldn't, just in case people are waiting to watch it.
I don't know. I'm known for accidentally spoiling films, so I don't know.
Don't do it.
I mean, that's the thing. This movie. I mean, the problem is, I mean, it is a remake. Like, so everybody, you generally know what's happening. All I'll say is that it's like,
I missed the music.
Yeah. So one, it's not a musical, right?
I missed.
And so a lot of the stuff that, pretty much everything that you like love about the original is gone. So that's good.
There's no Mushu, so, like, there's no cricket, there's no grandma.
There's no comedy. There's no comedy. There's no comic relief anymore. And again, I just think the messaging is weird now. Like, I don't really even think it knows what it's trying to say. I'll just say that. I'll be like, I think the last one had a better message. This one doesn't really have a message.
There's a lot of hate going on behind the movie too. Sorry.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if you heard that.
Political side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just like where
it was filmed, the production
where it was filmed in relation to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, It's free on Disney Plus. Check it out, everybody.
Good plug, Scott. Good plug.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like we should be sponsored by Disney with how much we talk about Disney on this show.
We do talk about them a lot. Mind you, it's not always positive, but
today.
yeah. But
I didn't say I didn't
you know.
like it. I said I liked the original better.
Which is also Disney.
And, like,
so.
it's also Disney, yeah. And even Star Wars is Disney now. And I will say, like, I don't like a lot of the... I like more than I dislike about the new Star Wars stuff. But I will say The Mandalorian is really good. I like The Mandalorian. I don't know if you guys have watched... Oh, yeah, Regine, you've seen the first
we know.
I have not watched any of it. My only connection to The Mandalorian is that I did find the concept of Baby Yoda to be very endearing. So I think that's a way in for a lot of people. There you go. There he is, little guy.
He's really cute. Are you a Star Wars fan in general, or have you ever been a Star Wars person growing up, or no?
Not really. Like, I don't mind the films. Like, I enjoyed them when I was younger. I think I would often see them. I remember seeing them specifically at my uncle's house. Like, I think his, like, kids were kind of, my cousins on that side of the family are a bit older, so I think they were really, really into Star Wars. So it was just like, they had all the movies and they had a nice setup. We would, I'd sometimes watch them when I was, like, staying over at their place. And so I think I've seen,
wouldn't
like,
say it was like it's not like your favorite movie or any of those sorts of things.
No, like, I remember enjoying them, but, like, honestly, I can't name all three of them, and I don't, like, the plot line in my head is fuzzy. Like, it was just, like, I'm sure I've seen them, like, in totality probably once each, but I've seen a lot more, like, bits and pieces, you know, and, like, it's like a, you know, family, like, Thanksgiving or Easter, and, like, you know, three
It's
of,
in
like,
the
the
background.
14-year-old cousins are, like, downstairs watching Star Wars, and then you end up, like, popping down there kind of thing. It was
What
more
would
so
be
that was
your-
my experience.
What was your, like, go-to movie when you were a kid? If you had one. Or
Yeah,
the big
I
thing
don't
you were into.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I could point to a specific franchise. We definitely watched a lot of Disney movies. I remember, like, really, really loving The Goonies as a kid. That was a lot of fun. I also really loved the movie Matilda. That was, like,
Oh my
such a
god,
fun-
I watched
when she
that
made
movie.
pancakes, like, when she was on her making pancakes, I think a lot of the movies, like, I realized that just, like, as a kid were next level exciting was just, like, seeing a child achieve the level of independence that you felt you deserved. You're like, yes,
Going
absolutely.
to the library by yourself. I'm like,
Oh my god,
I can't even go to the
imagine.
park by myself.
Yeah. No, so, like, yeah, I think a lot of those films are really
Loved Matilda.
nostalgic. Yeah, Matilda it was a really good film.
I saw this post the other day on Instagram where it was like, children that were born after Shrek was created are now having kids, and I'm like, wow, I feel old.
Yeah. I guess that's possible. I don't know when Shrek came out.
Shrek came out in
A while ago.
2001, I think is what the post said.
So that's 20 years ago? I mean, I guess people have kids around 20. I guess so. Yeah, I guess they
People
would.
have kids earlier.
They would just be like,
Yeah.
That's true. They'd be babies. They'd be babies.
Scary.
Yeah.
Hey, Loki,
But
what's
yeah.
up? Welcome to the show. Sorry, Haley, what you were gonna say?
No, Shrek was a good one too. Like, I remember
love
that being a
Shrek.
pivotal movie. And Toy Story. Like, Toy Story was a huge
Have you seen the fourth
Film.
one yet, Scott?
What happens in the fourth one?
The last movie.
Is that the one
I don't
with
want
the
to
Canadian guy?
spoil it. Yeah.
Is the Canadian guy in the fourth one?
Yeah.
And he's only in the fourth one, right?
Yeah.
Then yes, I've seen it. Yes.
Have you seen it, Haley?
I don't know. I've seen Toy Story 3, which I guess no spoilers, but was, like, deeply sad and, like, destroyed a lot of the grown men that I know.
Yeah, that's the going to college. Is that the going to college one?
Yes,
Is that
I
3?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't know if I saw 4. But definitely the original Toy Story, I loved that one. I just thought it was so smart. And I remember as a kid, like, it heightened my sense of, like, my relationship for my toys and kind of their perspective. Like, I remember looking over like my abandoned Beanie Buddy that I no longer played with so much anymore, and I was just like, oh my god, Waddles is probably sad. Yeah. So it's just, I think it was one of those films where it's like you look back and they like just really captured your imagination as a child in a super effective way. Like, some movies just do that really, really well. Like Matilda, like The Goonies, when it's just kind of like the kids, or even now Stranger Things, which obviously is like not geared specifically towards kids. But, you know, there's something so freeing about that, about the kids really being in charge. Like, that was the best thing to see when you were a kid. You're just kind of like, yeah, you know how like kids get it and like adults don't. I think that kind of, that kind of world was really captivating as a kid, and still now I think too. It's fun to see.
I think like the Toy Story of nowadays would be Secret Life of Pets. Like, just seeing what the life is like of a dog or a cat when you go to work.
I never saw that one. Was it any good, that one?
I liked it.
Oh, nice. Oh, I just saw Baltic. I think it was Baltic Flows. Thank you, Baltic Flows. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow.
You're getting a lot of follows today.
Yeah, pretty good episode. Good audience today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
I was going to say, it's like thinking of what your dog would be like when you guys are all out for the day. Like Cooch just running outside in the snow and loving it.
Well, that's what I like about those movies. Like, even what you were saying, Toy Story did that with the toys, but Inside Out as well. I think the reason I loved it so much, it was so accurate with like how the brain works and like how memories work and then when they brought up the imaginary friend, that's when I really cried in that scene.
No, but do you have an imaginary friend that you miss?
You know what? I never had you know what's funny? I never had an imaginary friend, but
because you had a brother.
I did. No, because I remember like I was whatever age I would have been. I was, you know, a little kid, but I remember hearing about imaginary friends either like on TV or like something and thinking, oh, I want one. And I remember like for a while I kind of pretended I had an imaginary friend, but I never really got into it because like
I had the same experience. Like, I missed the boat, I think, at the appropriate age or whatever. And then I was just kind of like, oh my God, like I could have had an imaginary friend. And then you tried to recreate one, but the impulse was not genuine. So I think I spoke to my dolls instead, and they were my friends. Yeah, exactly. You know,
makes sense. Like I even remember telling some of my friends about it. Like, oh yeah, I have one, and like if I remember at the time, I was kind of into Sonic the Hedgehog. So, like, I think my imaginary friend I decided was, like, a green Sonic the Hedgehog. And, yeah, I remember, like, being like, oh, yeah, I can't remember what his name was now. But I was like, he's there. But I knew he wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, I was making it up.
You just wanted to be cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to be in on this. But, no, I just, do you remember what your imaginary friend that you made up was, Haley? Do you remember?
Your imaginary.
Yeah, my imaginary friend. No, I think that was the thing. Like, it would not stick. It was almost like I tried to pursue it as a discipline. Like, I was like, I should have an imaginary friend. I absolutely should. But it just didn't. Like, it would be a new one day to day. And then I think I might have even like told my parents, well, I have an imaginary friend now, as if it was some like, you know, big thing. Yeah. But it was not. Yeah, I was doing what Regine was doing. I was just kind of like playing with dolls and inventing little, you know, plays and kind of stuff.
My doll is my imaginary friend. No, my doll is my friend.
World.
I also never, like, I would just talk to myself back then. In fact, I still do.
You are your imaginary friend.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I never like was at home and like felt lonely or something, like, oh, I need, you know. So I just, it would be normal for me to be running around like, I could either playing with toys, being like, no, you know, or just just like thinking and saying stuff in my own head. So like I still do that, but I've never
still do that.
So I didn't. Yeah, a lot. If I'm home alone or whatever, or driving, like I'll just be giving interviews. Just like all that stuff, you know.
He has an imaginary friend who he interviews now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. So I didn't really have that idea of like, oh yeah, my friend, he's sitting there and like, you know, we're playing games together. I never had that.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah. But it is, it's kind of a sweet idea, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think now. I don't even know if I haven't really talked to any of my other friends if they actually had imaginary friends or not. Or was
So
this
for
just
those who
something
are
just-
watching, leave us a comment. Have you
Yeah.
ever had an imaginary friend?
Did you have like a real imaginary friend, like you can remember him and like think like he was real to you or whatever?
Do you remember
Or
their
I guess-
personality? Yeah.
What was their name? Tell us. Leave us a comment.
Or was it just this thing like created by
blob.
the media? Like maybe because I'm trying to think like where did I hear about imaginary friends? It was probably a TV
The
show. Where,
media,
like, kids
yeah.
Had some,
Well,
yeah,
that's
some
the
show
thing, and I
had
think-
it.
Some kids probably come up with it themselves, and then other kids, like I think it was just kind of like you saw it, and it was just like, ooh, that's like, a pillar of my childhood experience, and then all of a sudden you're trying to add it in, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But
I remember the same thing happened for me with nicknames. Is that like, some kids had nicknames, or like their parents would call them this, and like I never had a nickname. And I think I remember one time I tried to like give myself one, but like it just
the
didn't work
first
because one, I never
mistake.
even wanted
Yeah.
it. Yeah, well, like I never even wanted a nickname, and anyway, but I just felt like, oh yeah, you're supposed to have a nickname because people have nicknames. But
Oh yeah,
But-
yeah.
Like
Definitely.
coming from a Filipino household, like all my cousins had like the double syllable nicknames, and I was like, I want one. But now I'm kind of glad I don't have one because it still sticks to my cousins now, and they're in their 20s, and I'm like, kind of glad I don't have.
Oh yeah,
There
for
you go.
sure. No, it's true. It's true.
But sometimes I feel left out.
yeah, I definitely did. At the time. Like I felt this pressure that I'm supposed to have one, an imaginary friend and a nickname. But
But Scott, you don't need a nickname. You have a stage name, which is your birth name. But I mean,
That's my name. Yes. That's true.
it was like last week we had Super Caesar on, and we were asking her like, "How did you come up with your name?" And her story was so much better than ours.
Yeah. Oh, I just came up with my name because it's my name.
My
then I
parents
just
gave it
used
to
it.
me.
Yeah.
But she had a legit story.
Yeah. She had a background to like her gamer tag thing.
Yeah.
I want
it's
one. Super
I mean,
Caesar.
you know what the thing is, I even wondered because like when I first made my channel or like when I started gaming as well, I wondered like, oh, should I make a gamer tag or something? But it's the same thing why I never came up with a nickname or thing. I also never didn't like my name, so like I never really had this desire
You don't like your name?
No, I never didn't like my name.
Oh.
So I've always liked it. I don't know why I said it that way. But the point is like, so I there was never anything else I wanted to go by. And so even now, if I wanted to come up with like a gamer tag or a name that I can use all the time, I'm like, I can't think of anything that I would want to commit to so much that I'm like, yep, this is me now. Like, make sure you call me this. And I'm going to make that my channel name and you call me that. I'm like, no, like I'm not, there's nothing I can think of that's so ingrained in my brain that I'm like, yep, I want to be this forever, That's why I
Yeah.
have a name.
A lot of
Yep.
thought goes into it for sure. I apologize. I don't know how long we were going today, so I have tentative plans at 1 p.m.
No
so I
worries,
might
no
have
worries.
to
Oh,
sign
that's
off.
perfect. This is good. We were probably gonna. I think Regine's.
Yeah, I've been
has
watching
to
the
leave around
time
1
too.
as well.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we flew in pretty good. All right. Yeah, then I think maybe we should. Well, let's wrap up in a moment. Before we say goodbye, hey Jaden Stubbs, welcome to the channel. Hi. We're here with Haley Midgette. So Haley, before we say goodbye, why don't you tell us where people can find you and also find your album?
Yeah, you can find my album Carla Ave by Haley Midgette on Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music. Chances are it's on whatever platform you use to stream music, I would say, and then also on Bandcamp. And yeah, what else to say? I guess I have another EP that I'm starting work on. I actually have a meeting about that later today. So there'll be new music coming out in 2021, which is exciting. So I'm
Yay.
looking forward to that. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. And I put the link, everybody, to Haley's YouTube channel and Bandcamp page down below. So make sure everybody watching, go over there, subscribe to Haley's YouTube channel, and give a listen to Carla Avenue on her Bandcamp page, and buy it as well.
No pressure. Thanks very much, Scott. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And Regine, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook, not so much Twitter, at It's Regine Alaina, as well as here on YouTube. Please subscribe. I just hit 80 subs. I feel really good about myself. Keep going.
There you go.
And you guys can also follow my pageant journey at Ms. MS Galaxy Canada on both Instagram and Facebook. Where can they find you, Scott?
You can find me right here where you're watching this very video, youtube.com/ScottDionBrown or twitch.tv/ScottDionBrown or dlive.tv/ScottDionBrown. And a shout out and thank you to all of you guys who followed and subscribed.
4
during
people
this very
today.
episode. Yeah. Also, please smash that like button. Just go boop on the like button.
I should do that now.
If you're enjoying the video. And you can also hear this show on Spotify as well, everybody. And also, you can follow me right here on Instagram and Twitter. But the best place to find me is YouTube. That's where I have the most fun. That's where I post the most stuff and where we have just a grand old time. Ladies and gentlemen, you could have watched anything at this time. You could have gone to any website in the world. But you chose to spend your Sunday morning with us. And for that, we are eternally grateful. Haley,
I
thank you
subbed
so
to
much
you.
for being here.
Aw, thanks, Jane.
But yeah, thanks for being here, and all the best. And Storage Room B is coming soon. You'll see it soon, I promise.
Woo! I'll stay posted. Yeah.
He said
Keep me
end of
posted.
the month. End of the month, guys. It's happening.
There you go.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to it, though. So, yeah, thanks, guys. It's been fun.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for being here, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye. See you later.